better this morning. Get your mats. If you're going to do some stretching out, get your chair if you're doing chair exercises. Get your weights if you're waiting. Line up if you're walking long or walking in place. I walked in place for 27 days. Well, you know, the weekends off. While I was in Vegas. So you can walk in place. Jump on your bikes. Start your treadmill. Yeah, what's going to happen? For Rizzle. Come walk with me. Yeah. Yep. That's what I say. That's what I'm doing. Yes, indeed, y'all. Whew. How you old people don't exercise, I don't know. Whew. Yeah, let's get ready, y'all. I'm walking now. I'm walking now. Oh, I used to watch my grandmother. She moved from one chair back, she walked back and forth, but she had no exercise regimen other than screaming, yelling, and stroking herself out after us. She don't know how much better, simpler, easier all our lives would have been if she didn't ever said, listen, everybody up, we're going to go take this 1.5 mile, 2 mile walk, and we coming back. And it would have been easier for her because we'd have been exhausted from the walk. She'd have been exhausted, but somehow we'd have had peace. But, you know, she was part of the Southern Baptist cult, and honey, peace is not in that valley. There won't ever be peace in that valley. No, sir. There'll never be peace in that valley. That's a valley of confusion. Anyway, thanks for coming on the walk. Like, comment, share. Tell her auntie, tell her uncle, tell her cousin, tell a friend to subscribe. Because I'm noticing on the YouTube streets, they want you to have a lot of subscribers. When you have a lot of subscribers, you got a lot more rules. Once they start putting that money in your pocket, that's a leash. That's a leash, honey. So, I want to tell uncle, tell auntie, tell a cousin, tell a friend, who's ever watching, you know, subscribe. But you ain't got to tell them to subscribe. Because the more people subscribe, the larger the noose around my neck, honey. And I'm free right about now. As long as you keep it under 1,000, I ain't got to worry about that. They don't bother you too much. So, great riders, and thanks for coming on the walk. I know we talk about affirmative action and why for. I know that. But I got to segue, y'all. Y'all know I listen to podcasts. And it's a show, I think, DNA. I just want to talk about, I didn't talk about the cousins yesterday. I'm not going to say the cousins too long, but I'm just going to bring this home for y'all. True crime. I listen to body floating in the ocean. They fish it out. It's a man. They do the whatever. At the moment, they find out that he is Central European. And they finally find his name, but it ain't his name. So they digging, they going in the family link, stuff like that. So they had said the last time the family knew of the man, he was on his way to New York, and they found that strange but it wasn't strange to him because he came into New York when he left Europe. Anyway, she kept using that made-up name. but we know them to be German Ethiopians. So she used their made-up names. And I'm like, for a DNA genealogist and shit, what's going on? So they finally found out the man is a Polish-Russian guy. And then they used the made-up name instead of saying of Ethiopian descent. They won't say that. They used the made-up name. So they're going through and how he came through Ellis Island. And, back in those days, they changed their name so they wouldn't be so ethnic. And then they wrapped it up. His name was blah, 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 blah. He was Polish, Russian, and then instead of saying Ethiopian, they used the made-up name. Because that's where Hebrew comes from. African Americans, we got to educate ourselves. That's why I tell you, stop putting yourself below these people. The purer the form, the darker the skin. The purer the form, the darker the skin. So, I was just like, why can't you say Ethiopian? Why can't you say African? And that gets me to affirmative action. These are the colleges y'all are kicking down fucking doors to go into? Y'all is trying to go for dummies? Affirmative action, that whole civil rights thing was a cult movement. Everybody said that, the separation of church and state. And I've always said, if you had acted halfway decent to your darker skinned cousins, you wouldn't have, the cults would have never gotten government. I often wonder, when I look at those pictures of the March on Washington, I always say, why don't they just keep marching straight through and leave everything rubble behind them? But then the ancestors lied me. They said because it was a cult movement. Look at it. Southern Baptist, Catholic, Scientology, Mormons, all the cults. So, the Democratic Party, which is the longest tormenting party of African Americans, the longest tormenting party of African Americans, or as ancestors be vibing it to me, the darker cousins, the purer cousins. But when I was small, because my mother marched on Washington and she taught politics, affirmative action, along with that voters' right thing, was all because of that. Okay? It's real hard, but I keep asking the ancestors to deal with them, to take care of them, to smite them, to get them. And the ancestors said, we ain't doing nothing until you acknowledge that they have African in them as well. They said, call them cousins. And I said, you'll smite them? And they said, call them cousins. We'll go from there. The cousins didn't want you in universities and shit like that. Because the cousins are forever trying to prove they're white to not acknowledge their African ancestry. It's all in them. And African Americans, we need the ancestors reviving me. Start looking at them and finding their African features. They're easy to see. There was this movie a long time ago called Aliens or something like that, with this wrestler guy, and they had these sunglasses. And when they put the sunglasses on, like humans was walking around, but when they put the sunglasses on, they could see the aliens. I ask you African Americans, put on your sunglasses and start looking at these people you call white cousins. You will see their African features. Even though one hill group, they call them Yiddish, Ethiopians, they shave their heads off. The whites shave their hair off. And you don't understand why. Because it's the African. The hair is coming up curly, like natural hair. And speaking of natural hair, everybody's like, oh, we can wear our hair natural. We can wear our hair natural. Or they say, oh, you're over processing your. Let me clear this up for you right now, people. These European cousins are doing everything to remove their African blood, feature, bones, and everything. They don't want to be known, but just because you don't want to know it don't mean that it ain't. It is. You don't want to acknowledge that the Africans came out of Africa and went through Europe. Because on this penal colony, you feed us bullshit that you brought us from the bushes in Africa. No, you didn't. You took us from the thrones of Europe, Spain, Portugal, Russia, Germany, etc. Portuguese, Holland, Switzerland, Dutch. You took us. You pretenders. Ain't no such thing as no white. You all have African in you. All are African. You're disgusting. Filthy, stinky, nasty cousins. So, to make them white, they build up this facade. Do you remember how they went into the studio and filmed landing on the moon and it never happened? That's what all these Ivy League, get it? Ivy League? That means if you go there, you are considered white. How fucking dumb is that? How fucking dumb is that? And you black asses jump on a dumbass train too. Well, I graduated from Harvard. Guess what? You're still African. And so are they. You're still African roots. And so is their roots. Slime buckets, cousins, low life, no count cousins. I tell the ancestors why I got to call them cousins. For surely there's snakes higher than them. Please. Affirmative action. Well, we don't want you to go to our colleges because, see, if you go to the college, you'll be white. How the hell are you giving these bitches Nobel Prizes, beat prize, and all this shit? Pulitzer Prize, I don't even know all that shit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Read Joseph Jett's book, Black and White on Wall Street. These cousins hate the African in them. And they hate the African they see standing from. Not all of them. Some are good cousins. But honey, if you go by my immediate cousins, if I had to break them down, I can say out of all of them that I've met, maybe 6. Maybe 6. And I've met about 15. Okay? Maybe 6. Or what you consider good cousins. So these European cousins, they ain't good cousins. So if we didn't go to their white school, Ivy League, and every black ass going around, oh, I'm going to Ivy League. You're still going to be African when your ass get out. But you're going to be in debt. And you ain't going to be able to get no job. Not according to what your school student loan is. So they wanted to keep us out. So the civil rights cult movement, the biggest cult movement ever, that's what got them into government, accepted the Democratic president, LBJ asshole, slimebag cousin. Look at his old picture. Yo, listen. Y'all, when the ancestors came over, we don't know how them Europeans look like. They could have been a bunch of fucking light-skinned Africans. We don't know. But as they stopped breeding with the Africans and breeding with one another, the Europeans started breeding out the Africans. But guess what? The gene is the gene. Because even that DNA person, oh, he's Russian, Polish, the made-up word. Wouldn't say African, wouldn't say Ethiopian. Oh, she did say Hebrew. That was like, bitch, Hebrew come from Ethiopia. Let's get some water. Dying to get into these schools with these dummies. Well, no, we're not African. A whole society, my whole life, all these years in this why we ain't African society. Why you gotta all this time prove? Well, Ivy League, no black. So that means we white. No, all are African. Africans went through Europe. You're over there hitting each other with fucking rocks. When they got off the ships. And you didn't send us here from Africa. You sent us here from fucking Europe. I'm walking, y'all. Trying to save my feet and toes. Our ancestors. See, sometimes I vibe high. I have to... and the translation, I have to say, not me, the ancestors. But they be vibing high sometimes. If I stop walking, y'all, sometimes they vibe. We are high. So they all sit there and said, oh, so let me tell you how they made those first African Americans that went into those Ivy Leagues. So that's why they have those secret societies and all kind of shit like that. Oh, I was telling y'all about Joseph Jett's book, Black and White on Wall Street. That's when he found out that Ivy League school don't make you Ivy League. All are African. He's just a darker color. The foundation, the root. And it reminds them of the African in them, and that's why they hate it. So let's get back to affirmative action. I've often wondered, when I used to read they called the slave narratives and different things and books, and even the cousins' books about the enslavement time. And I found it curious that They said, no, you can't teach them to read. The enslaved people, you know, who ancestors were brought to this penal colony from Europe. You have to dig through so many layers, y'all. They get to the damn top of the bullshit. That's why they couldn't see any books. That's why they couldn't see any writings. That's why they couldn't see any of that stuff. Because they knew how to do all of that stuff. They knew how to do all of that stuff. They just kicked them out of government. Of course, they didn't send all the government over here, because I see how when government takes over other countries and stuff, I see how they do. You don't take out all the top echelon people. And Europe tells that true story of the ruling African classes. Yes. Now the cousins don't like that, because you can see through them and you see who they are. But African Americans, blood knows blood. I've always known it. All my life. Okay, Mick Jagger, African. Stop beating yourself up saying, oh, everybody said, oh, Mick Jagger look African. They said, no, he's white. There is no white. Yes, he's European African. And many more. African Americans start looking at these European cousins and seeing their African traits. When I was young, nose jobs. I couldn't believe it. These European African cousins was getting nose jobs. I couldn't understand. They was going with the bullshit. Oh, I'm getting rid of my Roman nose. You're getting rid of your African nose. Ha ha, bitch. So you wanted to get us into these Ivy Leagues, schools. You pay the Ivy League prices, but few get the Ivy League jobs. They ain't letting you in. The cousins are reminded and triggered of their African roots every time they see a dark-skinned African. And it enrages them. So you see, all these affirmative action things, I'm glad it's gone. Don't go to their schools. You have schools all around the world you can pick. You can pick them. You can go there. You can use the internet. And I tell you, African Americans, when these folks go after the internet, rise up. Because won't nobody know what we doing here. Rise up and run through. The minute they cut off the internet on this penal colony. Won't be able to send for no help. Whew. These cousins, don't give them your money. All you're getting is debt. All you're getting is debt. Companies used to give bonuses and what do they call it? Stock sharing and all that kind of shit. But the minute it opened up for the darker skinned Africans, they stopped doing it. So it don't matter what Ivy League you graduate from. You're not getting it. And what's so Ivy League? About a whole bunch of people who don't even acknowledge. How smart can you fucking be when you don't even acknowledge the African in you? What kind of genius are you? I used to look at that Einstein. Oh, and he did the world. And he solved the world. And he stuff. Why he don't know Ethiopia? All the readings I see, all I see in front of his back thing, I ain't see Ethiopia mentioned. That's where Hebrew comes from. Validate? That's why the British Israeli government got all those Ethiopians and all their Hebrew books and all their Hebrew statues and brought them to Israel. They accept the African cult, Hebrew, but deny the African blood that runs through their veins. And these are world scholars. I sit there and watch that, listen to that lady. I listen to them all the time. DNA specialists, DNA will not say Ethiopian, will not say African. That's why I said I'm not getting my blood tested until I'm in Africa with an African DNA person. I ain't going for these lies here. They ain't even telling these folks when they find African DNA in their blood. They start freaking out. Oh my God! Oh my God! Now I gotta prove I'm white. How am I gonna prove I'm white? Oh, I gotta go and unlife dark-skinned Africans. And then when I can prove I'm not a light-skinned African from Europe. How fucking educated can you be? I'm glad for affirmative action. Stop indebting yourself in these student loans and a school to say you're white. Because there ain't no white. All are African. All have African in them. Stop it. You want to know what those skulls and bones things talking about? Everything I talk about on this wall is in the Yale Skull and Bones, Harvard Skull and Bones, because that's where they put the African in their history, in the Skull and Bones department. And if you go in that Skull and Bones, they probably in there beating drums, jumping around in their African robes. Got their face masks and dancing and everything in them Skull and Bones clubs. Because they're acknowledging the African within them. And how clever they are. That now everybody calls them white. No, ancestors, cousins. European cousins. Dirty, low life, low down European cousins. Liar, Lion from Lionville, low life cousins. Now, so I'm glad affirmative action's gone. Don't go to their colleges. Go online. There's Chinese colleges, there's Chinese professors that speak English that will teach you honestly things of the world. Even science has to have a certain amount of honesty to it. And this penal colony don't have it. That's why I don't understand where all these goddamn awards coming from. These lying lies from Lionville. I don't get it. So, whew, I have to hold on, y'all. Sometimes them vibes be surging through me. He's surging through me. Whew, it was so good roller skating. I tell you. Let's do some hand and weight exercises. Whew. Yes. Ooh, birch, belch. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Gas come up, honey. That gas is a killer. Yes. So, after Americans, I just ask you, stop being so hard on yourself. No, ain't nothing wrong with your dark skin. Those liars, they're just trying to hide the African in them. They'll cut their hair and make their wife wear wigs because they don't want to show no froze. Yes. They'll do everything Even going to these Christians cousins, how you holding on to an African cult because you got African in you? That's why. Fess up. That's what I'm going to tell you. African countries, kick out these cults. This is, child. The Scientology, Mormons, stuff like that, them cults coming from this penal colony, African nations, kick them out. Don't let them in. The Chinese are already doing it, honey. I'm telling you, African nation, these folks is pedophile. Go to Daily Mail. Go look online. I'm not lying. These folks is pedophiling. They is going on these missions. I'm talking about the Mormons. They is leaving incest and pedophilia here, signing up for a mission, and the Mormon church know. They know. They churching on the kids. Churching up the kids. They know. And they're sending them to African countries on missions to rape the little African kids. And if they make some babies African nations, send them, the baby and the mama, over here to this penal colony. Telling you now, listen to me. I'm here suffering with cousins, mixed race cousins. It's a horrible life. It's a life. That's why we white. That's why we white. We got rid of all the books that say we got any African to do it. That's why they're so upset. Oh, all these books got us feeling bad. First of all, you ain't white people. You're feeling bad because you're denying your African race and your African culture. You should feel bad. I hope the ancestors come out and drop houses on you all. I'm saying all the ones who deny the African within them. I remember when I was small, all this permanent. We used to have to get out here permanent. I was like, why everybody permanent here? And then I realized these cousins, they permanent here to be straight as well. When I found, I was like, why do they have to? Why do they have to straighten their hair? Now I know. All are African. I can't wait to get off this penal colony. Ooh. Oh, my daughter found a cousin who was building a house, I told y'all, in Ghana. And it would be everything if I could go there and just live and die right there and just get buried and just like never have to worry about coming back to this penal colony, coming back to the penal colony where this is why we white. Someone said today, well, you know, she was blonde hair and she had blue eyes. And I was like, bitches, Africans have blonde hair and blue eyes too. Oh, oop. Stop denying African. And guess what? Africans got red hair too. Oh! Whew. So all this suffering, all this affirmative action which is not needed, it's all just like, well, this is Ivy League for white people. So you really gotta pay to get in. Don't go in there, black people, African Americans and others, stay out of there. That shit ain't what it is. A Disneyland. Because the basic thing they don't teach. So they're liars. Don't spend your money there. There's universities all over the place, honey, that teach you good. You just going to learn. You stay here, you'll learn. You'll learn. Well, Black people got flat nose. So that's why all us mixed race cousins got nose jobs so we can have pointy noses that point up to the sky. They won't come out and say, I don't like my African nose. I want to change my African nose. But acknowledge where it came from. I don't like my curly hair. My hair is for curly and it's out of control and I can't. You're African here? Same problems? It's not a problem, but the same texture and same thing that we go through out here? Oh, okay. Cousin. How y'all do it, old people? How do you do without exercising? Squeeze your gut. Tuck in your elbow. Neither up nor down. 1, 2, 3, 4. One for good luck. Ain't no such thing as white. White is like the unicorn. They're always looking for because they won't acknowledge. They came out of Africa and straight through Europe. Straight through Europe. Straight through South America. Straight through North America. Straight through all the little islands, the Puerto Ricans, the Dominicans, the Africans had already come through here. Squeeze your gut, tuck in your elbow, neither up nor down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 for good luck. And they whitewash it and they call everybody and everything Rome. And when you know, you do know, because every time I see it, a vibe comes through me, and the ancestors like, we don't want to see no more of this bullshit. I'm like, I'm trying to get us to Africa. I'm trying to get us to Africa alive, and I'm trying to get us to Ghana alive, and I'm trying to get us to Ghana dead. I'm trying to get us out of here. Because I am so sick of seeing it. Horrible living on a penal colony where the whole thing is, this is why we as white, there's no such thing as white. All are mixed. Cousins. Like, comment, share. Tell an uncle, tell an auntie, tell a cousin, tell a friend, and to wrap up affirmative action. You don't need to go to their schools. They told the world that they went to the moon. All those Ivy Leagues backed them. How fucking smart are they when it was in a Hollywood studio? There's all kinds. There's Indian teachers that teach classes while we got the internet. Go in there and learn from them. Go and learn the truth of science. Go and learn the truth of all this stuff. Fuck all that stuff. What doors is it open for y'all? The rappers and the singers and the dancers and the booty shakers is making more money and doing more for community and society here than you are. So what is your Ivy League getting you? Debt. Debt. We can learn anywhere. Just cause you go and you pay all these thousands for Ivy League, it doesn't change the fact that all are African. None are Ivy. Like, comment, share. Tell an uncle, tell a cunt, blah, blah, blah. Like, comment, share, because this is bothering me. I said, Ivy League, all are African. Well, Ivy, African. You can't have the Ivy without the African. That's why. Stay out that bullshit, because they don't do nothing for the Africans. They don't talk about the Africans. They promote this elusive unicorn race that they call white, and ancestors told us to stop doing that and to start calling them cousins. So don't go to any of these colleges where the cousins' whole thing is that elusive unicorn white supremacy. I'm not even gonna go there. Like I'm saying, tell uncle, tell auntie, tell cousin, tell a friend. Thanks for coming on the walk. And y'all coming back to the Skull and Bones club tomorrow. That's what's talk there. The bones, they take the bones of Africa and put them in the bottom in the Ivy League schools, and only the secret societies can know. Come join me on the wall. I'll give you some secret society information. Like, comment, share, tell uncle, tell auntie, tell a cousin, tell a friend, subscribe. Thanks for coming on the walk. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for coming on the walk.